It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Morning Perspective. I obviously have a special guest here this morning. This is a rare occasion that we get the honor of having somebody with me sitting right here doing the show. So welcome, my man, Keith Callaway. He's in here from Portland, Oregon. As I mentioned yesterday, he got to see the Seahawks beat up on my Steelers a little bit on Sunday. Him and his parents were in for the weekend, and so I figured what a treat for you guys this morning to get to see Keith live. So we got a little special treat for you guys this morning. So this morning's episode is titled "See It Through," and where this one came from is really, Keith and I having a lot of discussions yesterday about, why people win and lose. Really is like, and what we honestly we're talking about in my truck driving around is that, most people end up losing not because they don't have the talent, not because they don't have the drive, not because they don't have the ability, but because they just don't see it through to the end. And it's something that I think lacks a lot in our world. Like, a lot of people really want that instant gratification. They want something to be handed to them fast. And that's just not the way that it works when you're trying to do something significant. If you're just trying to do average stuff, then you could probably get it pretty quick, right? But if you're trying to do anything that's really big, special, world-changing, life-changing, probably going to be pretty difficult for you to pull it off without some adversity. And so, one of the things that we wrote down here before we started the show was, the fact that right before you make it, you usually feel just an incredible amount of pressure, right? Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. You ever been through that?
I've been through some high pressure situations and a few times.
Tell the people about a couple of those situations.
A couple of them easily. Work ones are easy to describe, and everybody experiences some really high intensity situations at work. But what most people do is either they get better or they fail in those moments. Like, there's a fork in the road. And one of those easy ones, I work in a family business, for those of you who understand the dynamics of that. When you run up into a situation where you don't feel like you're going to win at all, but you see it all the way through, and once you're to the other side, hindsight's 20/20, right? You get through it and you go, well, that actually wasn't that bad, and look how much more knowledge and how much better we are for it. So a couple of them are like, actually Friday before I flew out here, I have to get on a plane at 1:50 on Friday afternoon. My paver breaks down with 4 loads of asphalt on the job at 10 a.m. and I got to be to the airport in 4 hours. And there was 2 things we could have done. I could have given up. I could have thrown all that money in asphalt and everything away and just gave up and said, you know what, we're not going to do this. But we didn't. The 4 of us. We were a short crew. Also, we were 2 guys short, and we pulled the truck up. And I said, look, guys, we got about an hour to fix this before we have to pull the plug. And they're like, we can do it. And we came together. We saw it through, and we finished. We finished actually a half an hour earlier than I thought we were going to. But those moments where you feel like the whole world is on your back, if you get through those, the other side is actually really, really comfortable. But at the moment that it happens, you feel like there's nothing that can go right.
Yeah, I think that leads us to our second thing that we wrote down there. It's like, I think what happens in those moments is like we all, and by the way, guys, I don't care where you're at on your journey, whether you're, kind of feel like you're just starting something new or you're just starting to really gain some traction. So you feel like you're at the bottom of the ladder, or you've climbed your way up that ladder, a fair amount. Those moments don't feel any different.
No.
Right? For me, people ask, what is the difference? Like, when you embark on new things or you're in uncharted territory, like, how do you handle that? And I'm like, man, it's just as scary now as it was, 20 years ago when I was 20 something years old. The only difference is that you learn how to control that fear, right? You learn how to proceed regardless of the circumstances. And that's exactly what Keith is describing. And I think that, the terms see it through, right? The words see it through are something you have to embed in your brain, is like, see it through to a conclusion. And again, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. You see it through to the conclusion, right? It doesn't always end up in a success, right? You can choose to persevere like Keith did, and his crew did, and everybody stayed committed to the cause. And you can still end up not being successful for that day.
100%.
But the reality is that the lesson is in the perseverance. The lesson is in hardening yourself, right?
Yep.
We're going to talk about that in a minute, because what we talked about sitting on the couch last night was pretty powerful. About what was the term that you were looking up?
Tempering.
We're going to talk about tempering in a second here, but it's a fact that most people lose confidence in their ability to win long term, or they lose confidence in their ability to keep going. And the reason for that is that you have not felt enough punishment, or you have not felt enough negative to quitting. And so, we talk a lot on this show about looking in the mirror. And, the reality is that you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself credit for being better today than you were in the past. And if you can do that, if you can be a better version of yourself today than you were in previous days, and you know that for sure, you're pushing yourself a little bit further than you have in the past, you're never going to question yourself. You're never going to have that negative feeling. And you're going to feel good about yourself, and you're going to continue to progress in life. So let's say hello to some people here. Good morning, Judd, Trisha, Bruce, Carrie Ann, Dee, Daniel, Joseph, Savage Grind. What's happening, man? Orlando, good morning. Patricia, Christina, Dina, Dean, Justin, the usual suspects, all up in here. But man, we appreciate you guys spending the morning with us, and it's just always a pleasure to see so many people. 22 people on here live right now trying to make their morning a little bit better. So we appreciate you guys joining us this morning. This is special for me to have somebody here with me, especially my dude Keith Callaway here. So, our next bullet point, and this kind of leads to temperament a little bit. I think it's a good transition. Is, sometimes guys, when you're in those moments, what do you think the best way is to kind of keep going when you're in the dogfight, when you're in the foxhole, and you feel like, man, it's all coming in around you, and you feel like you're under attack? What are some of the methods that you use to keep going?
So the first one that I wish somebody would have told me a long time ago. First one is, the feelings that you're feeling are valid, but they're not necessarily reality, right? Like those thoughts that are going through your head, they're normal. Everybody has those thoughts. The difference between the winners and the people that persevere and those that stop and crumble is the determination and the grit in that moment. Like, I've decided that I'm going to see this from where we're at to the end. Win or lose, I'm going to take my spot from here, and I'm going to continue moving forward. That's the first one, is just to take where you're at and be intentional about getting to the end. The second one is making sure that you're putting people on your sideline that are going to get you to the ultimate goal in your life. Whether that's business success, personal success, relationship success, making sure that the people that are on your sideline are you're cheering for you both when times are good and especially when times are bad. Those are a couple of quick ones.
Yeah, I will tell you, for me, I think the difference between having the courage, actually, Judd Burden just posted something last night about, just a little recording he did after the last National Pavement Expo. But it was, it was about the circle that you keep, right? And that feeling of courage that you have when you have the right people around you to keep you going, right? Like in our world, there's like no me calling Keith or calling Judd or calling Kevin Gray or calling somebody on my team and telling them, hey, we're going to turn it in. Like, we're just, we're not going to continue, or we're just going to not do this. Like, we said we were going to do it, but we changed our mind. We don't think that's a good idea now, because the reality is that those people are going to say, like, no, man, that's not how it works.
That's not how you can't do that.
Like you get your membership card revoked, and so one of the things that we wrote down is borrow the courage of those around you when it's necessary, because there are times, I think we can both agree. I mean, there are times that I've called you or you've called me, or we just got stuff going on. Sometimes it's employee issues, or job issues, or how do we handle this, or man, I've got this storm going on. Sometimes it's personal, right? But it's about just knowing where you have to pull that energy from, because sometimes the truth is, guys, you look yourself in the mirror and you say, man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I'm ready for this beating I'm about to take, or this next 5 days of adversity, or this next month of adversity. Sometimes you look and that's what that it's going to take to get through it. And so, that's one of the things, Top Contractor School is how Keith and I met. And that's one of the things that we're trying to build in that organization. We talk about it frequently, but in our world of construction, there's so many different pieces of adversity that honestly other industries don't have to deal with, right? So we deal with some unique stuff. I mean, every industry has their stuff, but in our industry, it's like weather and equipment and a unique breed of employees in some cases, right? Yeah. And so, when you deal with those things, it's very unique and it's very different. And sometimes, everybody that's on this stream that works in construction, I think would tell you they'd be lying to you if they didn't think at times like, man, I really don't want to do this. Like, I really just want to turn it in and go to bed for today. And hopefully when the sun rises tomorrow, it'll be better. But the reality is that the people that you look at who are successful and long-term successful, Tom Esso is on this stream here this morning, and that guy's been in business for a long time, and I bet you he would comment and tell you that it takes learning how to become tempered. Yeah. Right? And so Keith and I were sitting on the couch last night, and he was Googling the word tempered, right?
Right.
And what did it say about the definition of it?
Something, I'm gonna totally screw this up, but something along the lines of throwing yourself into a fire and then instantly cooling off, and the process of that hardening you to be more strong, right? Like every time you go through something that puts that pressure on you, and then also puts you in the oven, whether it's a fire or just an immense amount of pressure, each of those items harden you so that you can actually get through the next one, and you just become more wise, and you become a little bit stronger each time you hit some of those tumultuous points in any relationship or in business.
How do you think? Two questions for you. So you guys, some of you guys probably watched Keith's episode before, so you know part of his story. But how do you think 2008 tempered your company, and then how do you think your experience of going through what you went through personally tempered you to be prepared for how you deal with things today?
So 2008 taught my entire family, my entire organization, that the things that we based our success on were actually valid. We always had that sense of loyalty and family, but 2008 really tested the ties that bound us together, because there wasn't extras. There wasn't even enough at times to give everybody what they were due. But the reality that we all came together and said, look, the common goal, and the name on the front of the jersey is more important than the name on the back. That's what we're trying to do. We all want to be in the boat, because if any one of us leave that hole that we're plugging, it's going to sink us. So that 2008 got us through that, and I think that the personal experiences that I've had I didn't value people. I didn't value money. I didn't really have any values to speak of. And the times that I went through and the adversity in my life, they taught me what relationships were. They taught me what friendships were. They taught me what principles I should have and what ones that I should probably throw out, because I grew up with the ideas in my head that I had just created, that people were just pawns that I could just play and use. And it left me completely isolated and alone. And when those high pressure moments came, I had nobody, because I didn't cultivate those relationships around me that would get me through those tough times.
Yeah, and I think, you used the word empty, right? And so the opposite word of empty is what?
Fulfilled.
Is full.
Yeah.
And fulfilled is where I was going, is like, and I would encourage you guys, one of the things that being part of, our group of friends and the circle that we keep has done for me, and we touched on this earlier, but I'm interested to get your comments. It's like, I made a comment in a video that we did on our way to the National Pavement Expo in Nashville last year. So 2019, we've got it, a couple months down the road here. You'll see some stuff coming out from us here in the coming months about that show again. But one of the things that we talked about on the way down there is that, when you surround yourself with the right people and you make the right choices, and by the way, choosing the right people in your life comes down to this. You have to evaluate your own values and figure out what those are, and then you seek out people that share those values. And so when you encounter people in your life, once you create that circle that don't share those values, two things. Number one, it's going to be incredibly clear to you that they don't share those values. And number two, you only have the option of rehabilitating that person to the values that you exhibit, or removing them from your life. Because if you allow those people into your life, the values, the very foundation that you're building your entire life on, and your business on, and your everything on, your level of fulfillment on, is going to fluctuate significantly. And so anybody who's been through those tough times with individuals that don't match their values, and if you think about this, any problem you have in your business usually goes back to what? People that aren't exhibiting the values that you all agree are what's important, yeah. Right? And so when you have that circle, and you have a circle of people that have the same mission, that share the same values, the words that I used on that video is, you feel unstoppable. And so to circle that all the way back to the title of this, of See It Through, that circle that we talk about so often is what gives you the courage and gives you the energy and gives you the lack of other options other than to see it through. And so, we say it all the time, but I would encourage you, and it's a great touch point for today's show, because Keith is part of that circle for me. And by the way, we were joking in the car yesterday. We're like, man, I didn't even know this guy existed on this planet last year at this time. Mm-hmm. Literally had no idea. No idea. Right? And so, but when you find those people that share your values, that share the same mission, that share, that passion for helping people and truly making a difference in people's lives, friendships happen in an instant, right? It's like, you feel like you've known these people forever when you've only known them for, 9 months.
There's something that somebody told me one time, that if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. If you don't know what your values are and your principles are, and surround yourself with people that match those, then you're going to fall for something somebody else is walking you into, because you won't know you're going there.
Let that one sink in for a second. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I mean, that's powerful stuff, and it's true. It's like, and when you look at when your life really levels up, it's truly when you make those decisions to, number one, see it through, but number two, to stand firmly with 2 feet right on your values, mm-hmm. and not waver. And by the way, guys, there's going to be lots of times when standing on those values makes you take the long way in life. And that is a fact. I mean, there are plenty of times where taking the easy way is a much shorter path and much easier ride than standing on your values. And something that I like to tell all of our customers is, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about their values and talk about what they stand for. But what I've found is that everybody stands for something until it's going to cost them something. Until there's some inconvenience, until it's going to cost them some money, until it's going to put them in a position of discomfort and pain for a long period of time, right?
Yep.
And the reality is, I'm telling you guys, listen to this one very closely. Your future success lies in those moments of pain. And you enduring that pain, you tempering yourself by going through the heat is absolutely what will create the very best version of yourself. That heat will burn all of the doubt and all of the nonsense that goes through your head. Let's use running, for example, right? We both have completed 75 hard. We both have become runners, which is entertaining to both of us. And, the first time that both of us started running back in April, right? Mm-hmm. I was showing Keith, we ran the hill that I ran the first time today. And I'm like, man, I couldn't make it to the top of that hill without feeling like I was going to die. And it's not a very big hill, by the way. But, the reality is that over a period of those 75 days and now continuing to today, I've been able to temper myself to the point that, that hill doesn't bother me at all. I could run it 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many times, but I could run it because I've tempered myself. I've pushed myself through that fire of that hill, through my lungs burning, my legs burning, mm-hmm. My body feeling like it was going to collapse, to the point that, now it's no big deal. And so, that tempering, I think, what you went through in 2008, what you've been through personally, it just tempers you to a point.
It tempers you to a point. Here's something that if you want to look at it from the backside and understand what you get on the backside. A young man asked me, he said, well, why do you do things different now? He knew me from my past life. We've known each other probably 15 years. And he said, how is it that you do things today different than you did? And he said, and why do you do it? And I said, because at night I go to bed with a clean conscience. And I sleep well on a clean conscience. And he said, that's powerful. He said, because how often do we compromise our values during the day? And it just tears us up at night. And we don't really know what to do. It's because we took the easy way out. And it cost us something that we had no idea what it was costing us. It cost us our serenity. It cost us a little bit of spirituality. It cost us maybe a night of sleep. But ultimately, I like to go to bed with a clean conscience, and that comes from knowing what you stand for and staying firm on it.
Yeah, it's harder to do than it seems. That's for sure. In those moments where, again, I've been through it. Last year we had a situation in our business where, we had to get through some discomfort on a job, and the potential was, that we were probably going to lose $30,000. And my comment to the customer when I explained what was going on and how, their job was going to be affected is I said, we made this decision because it's what matches our values, and we believe it's also what matches your values. And the reality is that there's a lot of people on this planet, and if you decide that you don't want to continue with us as your contractor, then we can find a new customer. That's not what we want to do, but we can always find a new customer. But we cannot find a new name. We can't find a new reputation. And so, when you get in those situations, guys, and by the way, that literally catapulted us to a position with that customer to be their number one vendor of choice because they appreciated our transparency, honesty, and the fact that we were willing to potentially lose money and lose a customer to stand by what was right. And, it doesn't always end up that way. But, the reality is that it's going to end up that way more often than not. And even if it doesn't, guys, you're going to sleep a lot better at night, and you're going to look in the mirror and be proud of that person that you see, because you will know that you always do what's right and that you stand for something and you won't fall for anything. It means something. And so, to feel fully fulfilled in life, you have to be able to do these things. You have to be able to stand by something and not worry about that noise, right? I was sent a message this morning about, some guys just having some negative things to say online about something, about a show that we're part of, and, what these guys are saying, and just some negative comments. And the reality is, guys, there's always going to be that, right?
Always.
And if you don't stand firmly on what you believe and what is right, that what will you be, right? You will fall for anything. You will become what I call part of the herd.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, guys, where does the herd usually end up?
I think it's the slaughterhouse.
The slaughter. And so, you got to stand for something, and you got to find those people that stand for the same things as you do. And when you do that, the title of this show, See It Through, it becomes like breathing in and breathing out to see things through. When you have the right values, you surround yourself with the right people that share those values, seeing it through becomes second nature.
It does. You pick up by having principles and getting your circle right. You pick up the grit and the perseverance that everybody in your circle shares, that just puts wind in your sails through those tough times where you feel almost completely alone.
Yeah, and really, one of our missions in everything that we do and trying to help contractors and all those kinds of things, we were talking yesterday about, when I had this vision of creating this company that ultimately introduced Keith and I and several other people that are watching this live right now, I felt like so much pressure on myself, right, to produce the right content and get people the right information. And I've said this before, but what I really underestimated was the community that was going to be built, and the power of that community, and what we can accomplish together, right? So now it feels great that it's that I don't feel at all like it's all about me anymore, because I've got all of these resources. Some people are stronger in operations, some people are stronger in marketing, some people are stronger in sales. But now we're all searching out resources that we can share with everybody else. And that becomes a big pull. And it's because, by the way, there were times in that journey that I questioned my ability to see it through. It was overwhelming trying to, run a business, stay in my office till 11 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, banging out how we were going to structure this thing, what the content was going to look like. But ultimately seeing it through led me to some of the greatest blessings in my life. And this guy sitting next to me is one of them. Having friends like this truly make you feel unstoppable. So I appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate you coming in for the weekend, and I certainly appreciate you sharing your wisdom with these folks here, and I'm sure they appreciate it too. So
it's my pleasure.
We are we're recruiting. If you believe what we believe, the circle is wide open for you to join. So, but before you join, you better make sure you believe what we believe, because it gets uncomfortable. The heat gets hot.
It gets a little hot
if you don't believe what we believe. So it's man, we appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys sharing every single morning with us. Please share this episode. I know that a ton of people can benefit from this. This guy has unbelievable amounts of wisdom. If you guys aren't connected with him, he is Keith Callaway Jr. on Instagram, right? You can look him up. It's Keith Jr. Callaway on Facebook for some reason. I don't know why he's got to fix that, but
yeah.
At any rate. And then it's KL Paving Industries also,
yes,
right, on Instagram. So connect with him. He's a great guy. He's a good guy to follow. He will inspire you as well. Please share this episode. Again, it's available on YouTube after this. It'll always be available on Facebook, of course. And then we are available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and probably tons of other places as well. So that I don't even know exist. But at any rate, appreciate you guys. We will be back here again tomorrow morning at 7:30. And Thursday, just a reminder, guys, make sure you set your reminders for Thursday morning. I've got Jay Duran coming on the show. Dude is unbelievable. I'm telling you, he will not disappoint. He's going to blow your doors off. The dude is just, you'll see, wildly intelligent and has perspective on things that will absolutely blow your mind. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you again tomorrow morning at 7:30 right here, same place, same time.